Bum-ba-da-dum! Howdy, welcome to BanjoBenClark.com. I am Banjo Ben, here on your favorite website to learn how to play the banjo, the guitar, and the mandolin. This week is Banjo Week. One of the biggest requests that I get through the site is how to play backup banjo. And as you've noticed, I've put more and more videos up addressing that subject. This week is no different. We're going to look at how to play basic banjo backup down the neck, using rolls and learning how to walk back and forth between chords. This is a really cool lesson. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, here in a little while, I'll ask you to go over to the site where you can join as a GoPick member, and here's what you'll get. Well, access to hundreds of lessons and tabs that I already have up on the site. But this week is about a 30-minute video lesson, and also we're going to have tabs, and we're going to have MP3 practice tracks, okay, for you to download. Because I'm going to teach you some basic rolls. We're going to answer some questions about those. And then we're going to learn 4 different ways to creatively walk from G to C and then from G to D. But the kicker is this: we're going to take Unclouded Day, a great old gospel tune, basic gospel tune, and we're going to apply what we've learned to create backup, rolling backup for a verse of Unclouded Day. I'm really excited about this lesson. I do think it's one of the best ones I've ever created. Let's just dive into this and answer a few questions and then start learning these walk-up backup licks. As we begin to dive into our basic banjo backup down the neck and learning how to walk into different chords, I want to give you 3 rolls that we're going to use today for today's lesson. Now, I have a whole full, robust lesson on playing rolls that teaches you all your rolls here on the website, so go check that out. But the ones that we're going to use today are the forward roll, the mixed roll, and the forward reverse roll. Okay, a few myths that I want to dispel about these. None of these rolls have to start on a particular string or with a particular finger. The point is, after you start it, that you continue the pattern that the roll calls for. Okay, and there are no rules with this. A lot of people think when you get into a roll that you've got to stay into it for a while. You don't, as you'll see as we learn this. Now, this forward roll, I've got 2 measures of it written. We're going to start on our G string with our index finger. Beneath each one of these notes, I have my fingers notated. So the 1 with the circle around it means that we're going to play our index finger. The 2 means our middle finger, and the T means our thumb. So we're just going to start there, measure 1, just. And measure 2, we're just continuing that roll. Another myth I want to dispel is that our rolls have to happen on the same strings, okay? Forward roll is not dictating which string you play, it's just dictating which direction your fingers are going. So a forward roll could consist of just the first 3 strings. It could be the middle 3 strings if you do it inside forward roll. Okay, and it can also switch strings, so you could do it like this. Okay, there's no real rules there, it's just what you need. Now, when we get into the mixed roll, it's similar, except this roll is made up of 4 notes, so 2 of them fit very nicely into each measure. This particular mixed roll, we're going to start with our thumb on the G string, then go to our index on the B string, our thumb again on the high G string, and then our middle finger on the first D string. So it sounds like this. In the same way, we could play different strings. And you could change them as you're doing a mixed roll. Okay? So don't let it scare you. Then we've got our forward reverse roll. This simply means that we're going to do a forward roll, and then we're going to come right back the way that we came. So I'm going to start here on the G string, do a forward roll through the first 3 strings, then jump up and play the high G, and then we're going to come back the way that we just came. Reverse roll. And then wrap up that measure with 1 note on the D string there, okay? I just want to spend a couple minutes on those because those are the ones that I'm going to use for this particular lesson. Now let's look at 4 different licks each for traveling from G to C and also from G to D. Then we'll put it into practice, learning some backup for Unclouded Day. As we begin thinking about playing down the neck backup using rolls and licks, the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is to always be thinking, where are we going? Where are we going? The worst feeling in the world is to be playing a song and not know where the chords are going. And so for that reason, I encourage you to sit down with a blank sheet of tab paper, and I've actually made that available on the site now. If you just go to the basic tabs section, it's free. You can download that PDF and just sit down and maybe chart you out a song so you know what chords are in the song. Chart it out. It's 2 measures of G, then 2 measures of C, then a measure of D, and then just practice writing out some backup. Now, you won't have to do that for long, but if you're having a lot of trouble fitting in all these notes and making it sound smooth, then I really encourage you to do that. Now, what we're going to do here, starting at measure 5, is I'm going to give you 4 different ways to get from a G chord to a C chord. And in our make-believe song, it has 2 measures of G going to a C. Okay, so we're just going to deal really with 3 measures. Of course, the song can go on and do whatever it wants after that, but we're just going to concentrate on getting from G to C, and very often there's 2 measures of G going to C. And we're going to use those rolls that I talked about. So here in measure 5, I have G to C, and what I'm thinking about, as I mentioned, where am I going? Well, I'm going to a C chord from a G chord. So often one of the first things I'll think about is, where are my root notes for that chord? So I know that this is a G note, a G string, and I know I want to go to a C note or C chord. Well, there's our C chord that we're probably going to. So I can just think logically and musically, how do I get there? Okay, well, if I walk right up a G scale, I can get to a C. So there's 2 notes in between this G note and a C note. So I think, well, I can just walk it right up. So I need to think about how many notes it takes to get there, and that'll help us do this. Let me just play you G to C number 1. You can hear what I'm talking about. Okay, so for this particular example, we're just going to use forward rolls. We'll switch it up here in a little while. But I'm walking into measure 6, which is the first note or first measure of our G chord, and I'm going to do forward rolls. So 8 notes total to take up that measure. Then when I get to measure 7, this is decision time, right? I know that I'm at G, I know I need to go to C, and I know that there's these 2 notes in between G and C. An A note and a B note. Okay, it's 2 notes. So one way to do this, as I did here, is those 2 notes take up 2 beats. Okay, now one measure, that measure 7 there, it has 4 total beats. So I'm going to play something for the first 2 beats, and then I'm going to walk up my scale for the next 2 beats. So I'm just going to do a G note, and then I'm going to do a pinch for the first 2 beats, and then I'm just going to walk right up. And then start my forward roll. So one more time, G to C number 1. Now when we look at G to C number 2, we're going to do something similar, except I wanted to make the point that we don't have to follow that major scale. Okay, bluegrass is full of blues notes, and that's what we're going to use here in G to C number 2.